This is Raising Mama, a hilariously honest podcast dedicated to unveiling the hidden realities of motherhood.
Our goal is to arm you with the information and tools you need to be your most confident and empowered self.
This podcast is packed with unfiltered testimonies, diverse perspectives, and expert opinions, along with a good dose of laughter and tears.
Leading you on this journey is my best friend, Megan Stander, who is a CEO, passionate maternal health advocate, and mom of 2 daughters.
Alongside me is my best friend, Chelsea Ledson, who is a mother, wife, and registered nurse with her master's specializing in women's health. Let's try to raise the next generation
by raising up mamas
and maybe raising a little hell.
Woo-hoo!
Yo! Good to see your face. I got my Starbies. I'm ready to go. I've got my peppermint mocha. And I've had the craziest day filled with interruptions in the middle of everything. Like while I was doing an interview for like a new employee, I had to pause to go talk to my plumber. And then and then while I was on like another phone call, I had to go to the bathroom. Like it's one of those days where you don't have enough time for anything, so you like kind of have to like double book and do multiple things at the same time, but then everybody just thinks you're like rude. But that's like part of becoming a mom, is you just kind of become like unabashedly like rude, and you're just like, you know what? I'm doing my best, and I showed up today, and I'm here, and then my bathtub is fixed again. But like plumbers are important. Like my kids, it was difficult for me to even bathe them, so he had to be there.
Well, yeah. I know we decided to record today because we are going to have a nutritionist on very shortly, and so that got me and Megan talking about gaining the baby weight. Like, how much did we actually gain? How long did it actually take for us to lose it? Did we ever lose it? How did we lose it? How'd our relationship to food change? All those things that I thought, you know what? Maybe somebody who's pregnant or thinking about being pregnant kind of wants to know the real deal. How much does your body actually change? So I thought, let's just add one more thing to Megan's plate and talk about it.
It's a big topic. I mean, I think that I love that things have become much more body positive these days, and also on social media about mom bodies and what your body looks like. And I think that we're so much better off now than we were, even 10 years ago. So it's a tough topic because as much as I don't want to put too much emphasis on it, I think it's also like really real for all of us to pack on the pounds, not just the baby pounds, the other pounds too. And it can be tough, and it's a struggle. And, I think that the end goal is loving yourself, loving your body, and being healthy. But there's a lot to unpack there. So I'm glad we're talking about it. And you and I have different stories. So, I think it's great to hear different perspectives and experiences and just like normalize all of it.
How much weight did you gain?
I gained, so I'm 5'7", and I was pretty much, before pregnancy, I always floated around like, on a good day, like the high 140s, and then, anywhere between like 150 and probably 150. I had to go back a few years. I'm like, what did I used to weigh? I know in high school I was like 120s, 130s, but I was thin, and funnily enough, I hated my body back then. Youth is wasted on the young, as they say. But I remember getting on the scale. I think I was at like 185 when I was my biggest, but this is with baby in belly.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember with both babies, I remember, you kind of jump on the scale when it's like your first week, and you're like, all right, how much did I lose? Like, it's got to be a lot. There was a baby, there was water, there was blood, and like placentas. Like, how much was it? And then like both times, I think it was like 10 pounds. I was like,
Ooh.
only 10 pounds like gone. And I feel like it was maybe even less than that. But um, so what does that put me at? Like 170 something? And then, which is just for me very scary. And then, you know, I'm back down now to where I was, but it took me a while. I mean, my youngest is 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how much I gained. So it was like 30 pounds, and then, part of that was the baby, and the accessories. What
Yeah.
about you?
Maybe inside you gained 30 pounds and then you lost like, we'll say around 10
I
pounds
think it was
within.
35. Or like it was like 30. I remember it being like close to 40, but not quite.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
just go in the middle. We'll say 35
35.
pounds.
35.
And then you lost about 10, like within what, a week after birth. And then how long did it take for you to lose the other like 20-ish pounds?
I think it took like a year.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little bit different with the first and the second. So I think it took me longer with the first because of I'm going to attribute it to all of the mental and emotional stuff associated with matrescence, which is like becoming a mother. I struggled with that more the first time. So the second time I sort of knew what to expect, and I was like, okay, things will go back to their right places. You will look moderately normal. Saying that with air quotes, normal again. So like, don't stress. And I think that helped me lose it a little bit faster the second time, but I also then developed sort of stress related disordered eating, not like body image related per se, but like stress related disordered eating. So that sped things up, but it wasn't on purpose. Like I wasn't not eating enough because I felt like I was overweight. It was more
Mm-hmm.
like my brain couldn't handle reality. I was too stressed that I just didn't think to eat.
Got it. And then, so did you, with the other like 20 odd pounds, did you actively try to lose it? Did you like go on a weight loss plan? Like, when did you start doing anything, or was it just like within a year it just came off?
I remember after Kelly, my oldest, I remember wanting to lose the weight. And I think that see, I've been up and down my whole life. And so I knew I had the tools and the knowledge and the whatever to like work to do it. But I wouldn't say I went on any like specific plan. It was more like I took all of that knowledge and I like threw it in the back of my mind. And I was like, just pay more attention to this stuff and, like basic stuff like lower your sugar intake and like don't eat lots of fried foods and, pay attention to snacking and things like that. But that whole first year is very blurry to me,
Yeah.
honestly. It's blurry because there was a lot going on and like you're
Yeah.
not sleeping enough, your memory's not as good, so it was a gradual thing, but none of it was intentional,
Mm.
honestly. It was just somehow I wound up where I needed to be, and I was thankful for that. But that doesn't mean to say that I'm just lucky that I went back. I'm not I it I did have prior knowledge and I
Mm.
followed some basic guidelines. So,
It sounds like you were like mindful, but you didn't go like gung ho, like I got the personal trainer and I woke up at 5, and you're just kind of trying to be more mindful. Then within a year you came back. And it's funny because you're, I think, truly like the definition of that's what the doctors say. They say if you're normal BMI, you can expect, somewhere between 25 and 35 pounds. The average person, they say, will go back to their baseline within a year. So you kind of just did what like the books and stuff recommend, or or whatever. So that's kind of cool because yours was very different from me.
yeah. Yeah, again, it wasn't intentional. And I that isn't to say that I didn't like mentally suffer with it. Like I felt very much like I was inhabiting a body that was not mine. I was surprised by the slowness.
Mm.
But I think that, and I definitely was like, and you and I, well, we're going to talk about this later, but just the body image, the identity of like becoming a mom and all of a sudden being in that category. It was, for me, I think it was more of a mental evolution, in terms of how I saw myself and what new standards I was setting for myself than like, I need to count calories. And I was very concerned with my own mental and emotional health. And I think that's what I prioritized,
Mm.
which isn't a bad idea because then the rest kind of does fall into place. It is so difficult as someone that has depression and anxiety and have my entire life. I mean, I'm on meds. I'll give you my stack. I'm on Prozac, I'm on Lamictal. I've tried everything. I've tried Wellbutrin and Lexapro. I've tried everything, but I'm on meds. And so I'm not going to lose weight or eat healthy if I'm not mentally okay. Like
Right,
I
right.
won't. I won't. It's a waste of time. And then I can actually get into a cycle where I'm becoming more depressed because I'm failing at my goals. So I think
Mm.
that was actually some good foundation I set for myself before I got pregnant, that I was like, we need to focus on the mental and emotional first because that's what matters the most. And that will set you up that when you are then ready to focus more on nutrition and exercise, that but I'm sure some people will debate that because there's such a close connection between exercise and mental health.
Mhm.
Um, I'm still working through that.
We looked up really cool stats, and I mean, it did say that, like, the majority of people that suffer, like, if you have trouble if you're overweight and you're having trouble with the nutrition and the exercise, like, it, like, triples your, like, chances of depression and, like, they're interlinked for sure, and if you're
Yeah.
already primed for depression because postpartum is just, like, there's the postpartum blues, there's postpartum depression, it's
Mhm.
just, like, it's one more tool belt that, like, snowballs into each other, and that's just really common. I don't know, do you have the
Yeah.
specific stat?
Yeah, so it's body image dissatisfaction postpartum women is linked with increased risks of anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously that's prevalent because 1 in 7 women get postpartum depression. So I think for me, I was like, whew, like stay focused on body image, like learn to love yourself first, and then deal with the rest later. So
Yeah.
what was your experience? How much weight did you
I
gain?
wanna say that I gained, like, between 60 or 70 pounds, and I usually live, around 160. I'm 5'5", I usually live around 160,
Mhm.
give or take, like, whatever. And then I was, like, 240, I think, when I was, like, pregnant, and
Yeah.
then, same thing, I lost 10 pounds within, like, what after the baby. But it's so crazy too. I think one thing no one like preps you for is I think you think like you're gonna just like have the baby and then like your stomach is like flat or something. But
Yeah.
you'll literally have the baby and still look like 8 months pregnant because the birth is such a traumatic thing to your body. Everything is like super inflamed and just like super swollen. So you'll like
Mhm.
freak out and be like, oh my God, is this my forever body? And then like pretty dramatically things change in like a week, but I still had so much weight. Like I was like, whoa.
How did you feel like when you were there? Like what was your mental like experience of that?
I just remembered thinking like sitting in the bathtub and like looking at my body and same thing, like out of body experience, like just being like,
Mhm.
this is my body. Like, plus I had like crazy stretch marks. So it was like, not only are you just like a whole other shape, but like you have these like red marks on you and you're just like, wow, okay, like there is just no like how does like I think I stressed out so much about losing like 20 pounds like my entire 20s that it was like how am I gonna lose 70 pounds? Like
Yeah.
yeah, like I was like I couldn't even manage the 20 pounds, how am I supposed to manage 70 pounds, how am I supposed to like love this body that is just so commercially not the body. Like it's just not, you know? And the other thing too is like for me, my boobs changed so dramatically, like in
Hmm.
not a good way. And like the milk, I don't know, a lot of people always say like, oh, milk, you need to eat more 500 calories more a day and like it burns so many calories, like breastfeed, breastfeed, breastfeed. I definitely only started losing weight once I stopped breastfeeding. Like
Interesting.
I
I
think
think there's a lot of variation in that,
yeah.
but that's definitely interesting. I mean, what was your main emotion about all of it? Was it like shock or dissociation or like sadness or grief or like where were you at?
I think like for real, I remember like sitting in the tub and that like shockedness just kind of like poking at my body like whoa. And then my husband came in, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm just like, "Dude, this is so sad. Like, why didn't anyone tell me that like it's gone forever? Like this isn't like, oh no, I have a little mole on my left cheek or like especially I think the images you see on anywhere, like even those like pamphlets in the hospital, it's always like some Nivea commercial, right? Where they have like no stretch marks and they're like little skinny arms and legs and like big belly, you know, and they're like on a beach or something. And you just think like, okay, things will change a little, but it's like, oh, they're all liars. Like there is no returning. And I was just so sad. And he was like, well, you know, it's worth it. You got a baby. And I remember I said, I don't know. I remember I said like, I don't know if it was worth it. Like, that's how much I was like, "Woo!" Like,
Was this when you were still pregnant or was this
oh,
very
this was
short
like
soon
2
after?
or 3 days after I came home from
Okay.
the hospital. I remember thinking like, "I don't know if it was worth it." Like, almost like the like, it would be like waking up and you had, like, a whole ass face tattoo, you know? And you're like, "Whoa." Like, people said that there'd be some changes, but I didn't think it would be like, "Hey, so now you're gonna go around the world with a face tattoo." Like, an impenetrable difference, you know? So and
Yeah.
I think, of course, it affected me more because I came from a place of insecurity already, so it just, like I don't know. So I feel like I wanted to, like, tell people that, like, dude, sometimes, like, it can be, like, way more shocking than, like, like, what the book says. Like, you gain the 30 pounds, you lose 10. Maybe if you're more mindful and cut out your sugar for, like, a year and breastfeeding will help. Like, sure, maybe you'll have, like, one, you know, stretch mark. Like, I don't know. To me, it was, like, way, way, like, way more. Plus, I gained all that weight in my 3rd trimester, like, all of it. Like, at
Yeah.
60 pounds of it. So that transformation happened in like a month and a half. Um,
So where are you at now?
so yeah, so I gained like that like 70-ish pounds. And then I instantly, I mean, like the minute I gave birth, I was like, wanted to weigh myself. I wanted to like think about what I was eating. I was like so frustrated that I had to breastfeed because I felt like, okay, well, I can't go crazy and like not eat carbs or something because I'm breastfeeding. And I wanted to exercise. Like this, like I definitely like hyper fixated. So I like did my exercise video every single day, like wanted to get outside, like,
I'm hearing that you were resistant to it. Like you were in a state of resistance where you're
oh yeah.
like, and you're such a go-getter. So you're like, I need to do the things to get me to where I need to be. But was there ever a moment where you were like, there, did you experience any degree of acceptance?
Oh no.
Really?
No. Not at that state. Not at the like
No, I
70.
mean like along the whole journey.
Well, so I guess yeah. So then, for me, it's been at the year mark. I did get much closer to my baseline. I'm still like 10 pounds over ish, but I'm not really worried about it. Like I think to me, like even 10 or 20 pounds isn't like crazy. It was like
Yeah.
70 was like the mind blowing number. I was
It
like,
was
I
overwhelming. Overwhelming.
yeah. So what I did was I was just like, okay, if I keep doing this crazy crap that I was doing in my 20s, like not only is it just not going to be good for my daughter, like I need to figure this out because like one, I need to figure it out to be healthy, to like take care of her. Two, I can't be that mom like saying things in the mirror, saying things to myself, like she sees me eating weird, like I need to figure out how to do this like the right way. So I did two things. I got the nutritionist that we're interviewing, and she was so helpful because I was like the prime subject of the person who did every fad diet that has ever happened ever. Like cayenne maple syrup lemon for a week, or like just only eat after 9, or only blah blah blah. So I did that, and then I had a therapist just for nutrition, just for like body image, and that
Mhm.
those two things together, like you said, they're kind of inextricable, mind and nutrition. I think you can't really conquer one without conquering the other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely like really responsible of you. Like, I like that you immediately thought of your daughter, and it wasn't just about yourself. It was like, I want to do this in a way that's healthy and will not create body image issues in her. And part of that is me getting to a place where I can kind of feel comfortable again.
Yeah.
Um, so that I don't have body image issues. Because like you can technically get to a place where you don't have any body image issues and you're any weight in the entire world.
Hmm.
But if you're used to being a certain weight like your entire life, and then all of a sudden, you're this like, well, not all of a sudden, but yeah, within your last trimester, you really, are a lot bigger. It can be like, that is a tall ask to just be like, yep, love my body, like it's like you want to sprinkle that in, but like I understand wanting to get back to a place where you feel like comfortable again, because you're really healthy. Like, you've always been really healthy. Like
Hmm.
you can whew, you can out compete me in anything. I mean, like, you're way more fit than me and way healthier.
Yeah, well, you know what I was reflecting on, and thank you for that. But I think, it's not, I think what I was reflecting on is postpartum is such an enlightening period because it's going to be your hardest day, right? Like it's going to be when you're sleep deprived and things are hard and your emotions are high. And when you're tested like that, anything you haven't sorted out, it's going to just really bubble up and rear its head in the most strongest way. And I think that was like my issue that I hadn't really figured out, which was like my relationship to food, my relationship to my body, like
Mhm.
self image. And so I think that's why for me, it was like, knock, 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 like super intense, where like maybe for you it's like the thing knocking on your door is like, I don't think we fully figured out this whole like emotion thing. And so it's one of the wonderful things about postpartum is it like forces you to face yourself, and it's like even if you don't
Yeah.
want to change, like you're changing, like so you can either show up to the change and embrace it and be like, okay, how am I going to be a better mom, or you're just going to go through that change anyway. So it's like, I don't know. To me, that's kind of what I felt like it was. It was the worst parts of me exploded out, and I couldn't pretend anymore. It was like, whoa, okay, I am that giant woman now. So like, the worst has happened. Oh, I don't know. And it
Yeah.
wasn't about the weight and the nutrition and it was like so much of mind body connection and just things that I had to work out.
Did you have like, what was your relationship with food up until the point, that catalyst moment where you were like, I I don't know who I am anymore? Like, what was your
I think that it's something we also touched upon too, about how there's this transition, the amount of for me, and I think a lot of people can like understand this too, that when you're single and you're not in a relationship, like if you're dating, the importance of looks on a woman is like so highly pushed. Like every single app you're on, like, that's it. It's just your picture, left, right. That's it. That's your entire like worth to anyone is just like left, right. And like what you're just, I don't know. And there's all these messages. So I think it was just like, I had gotten so accustomed to that mindset that like my image is very important to like me being successful that everything fed into it. So it's like I never thought of nutrition for health reasons. I thought of it as like, hey, it's something that could make me skinny, that could make me successful because this is what the world I'm living in. I'm living in this hyper fixated world that's all about image and like I can there's just no getting around it. I that's how it seemed to me.
What would you say though, because you have a daughter, would you say the same thing to your daughter? Is that your current belief to the point where, because to me, I'm here listening. I'm
Mhm.
your best friend and I love
All
you.
about it.
But to me, we can debate this. Sorry, this is like a huge disclaimer. To me, that sounds like an unhealthy thought to think that I need to look a certain way to be successful because
That's
not
a limiting belief.
it's a limiting belief
Mhm.
because there's aspects to it that's true,
Mhm.
sure, but I don't think I don't think it's entirely true personally, but I'm a different person. I have a different life experience. And I'm also one that was working like, okay, so if we're just talking professionally, that I made decisions about who to hire and I had to meet many people. I've interviewed hundreds of people over the last 10 years and I've never once factored in a person's appearance. And it's maybe that's just me. Um and then also just like in the dating world, I don't know, maybe I'm just not very shallow. I don't know, like a little bit, but I don't think that people are as mean as you think.
But see, I think that you have been with the same partner since you were 21.
Yeah,
If you've been dating, seriously dating,
true.
I mean, get ready to like have some bulletproof vests because people are mean and it is pretty image
That's true.
driven and like I don't know. And I definitely know I'm not the only one because like you ask any woman who goes on any app ever and it's just like God, like this is
Yeah,
a
I can't
challenge.
talk about yeah, I can't talk about dating because I haven't even ever used a dating app. Zero
But
experience there.
I don't know. So I just I guess to me what I feel like the truth of it is that it's a season. It's just learning, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes you're going to think that I don't I like now I see younger people dating. Like I just went out with my young friend, at a bar and they're doing the whole 25 dating thing. And I see them putting so much emphasis on like, yeah,
Yeah,
like chick.
you were out last night, huh?
I was out last night.
Mama was out last night.
Yeah, and I was thinking like, okay, like I'm not crazy. It is definitely like that. However, the big
Uh-huh.
transformation is like, dang, like they they're just on their journey, just like me. Like I think I learned a little bit late, like how not important looks are. Like they're
Mhm.
there, they're important, but like not to the extent that my entire world lens needs to be filtered through it. And like I shouldn't wake up in the morning thinking, okay, what do I look like? Like how can I lose weight today? How much length of time can I go without eating and da 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 da? Like, it's just what a waste of space to live your life stressing out about something that, like, there's only so much you can do. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and especially if you're doing all that work and you feel shitty, like, oh my God, that's when you get that whole like hot girl who's just totally angry all the time. Cause it's like, we're not all supposed to be this one perfect, swipeable image, but it can seem like you're supposed to be filtered into it. So no, I've changed, I've grown, but it's still like I said, I mean, it's just part of me and it's like my Achilles heel and like I know
Mhm.
that it's just something I'll have to keep coming back to. You know what I mean? Like I'll have to
Yeah.
keep kind of like, "Oh, am I falling into these mind patterns again? Like am I doing?" And now I have a lot more tools to be like, that's some disordered shit I'm doing right now. Oop, that's an unhelpful thought. Oop, that's limited thinking. Oop.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that it has to go away. It's more
Mhm,
like you've built some space between you and it. So
mhm,
you there's some space there now, and it's not as closely associated with your identity. It's still there,
mhm.
and it floats, but if it as soon as it kind of floats back, you're able to be like, okay, like you're there for a reason. You're there to keep me healthy. You're there to make sure that I have healthy relationships with food, but at the same time, like it's not overpowering. Is that right? Am I like saying that back to you
My
right?
main
Do you
thing is
resonate with that at all or no?
I just feel like I am not my thoughts.
Right.
They're just thoughts. So if I have a thought, like I don't have to then believe in it, act on it, like make it my whole entire reality. I can be like, well, that thought was like based off my 10-year-old version of like the girls at Hollister are very skinny. So being very skinny and wearing a Hollister shirt, like, that doesn't at
Mhm.
all resonate with where I'm at, but it's like it is part of my childhood, it's part of my development. And so I don't know. Now I kind of just I'm like, okay, I'll hug my little idea and like let it free
Mhm.
and it's good. And I don't know. So now where I'm at, I definitely have way more skills. I have way more self-knowledge about why I'm doing what I'm doing, what triggers me to eat certain ways. And that a lot of it is also just like, dude, some people are like different shapes. Like they just are. I think you think that it's a personal fault that you're not the image that society is like, this is the image, like be the Kim Kardashian. And you're like, why am I not the Kim Kardashian? And it's because like just took me so long to be like, because not everybody looks like there's a bazillion little babies out there. You're not like, that baby is not the Gerber baby. Like there's something wrong. Like I don't
Yeah.
it's kind of nice. Like it's kind of nice that you get this time to really work on your inner stuff and it gives you that 2.0 version to like not hide from the things that maybe you would have hid from before because it's going to like smack you in the face and be like, you need to figure this out. You're a mom now.
So how was it like last night when you were out at the bar
Mhm.
with your single people and your single friend and your 20 somethings everywhere?
And I remember just thinking like, man, poor 20 somethings. Anyone 25 and under,
They
what a
have it rough.
what a journey you're going on. They're just woefully misguided. Really
Yeah.
they just don't know, like they just don't know. And that's not their fault, but they're just really like they're just going off preconceived notions, trying to do their best, and they
Yeah.
just do things that you're like, "Oh, like you like," and that's
Give me an
probably
example. Give me an example.
okay. Oh my
I
god.
love picking on 20 somethings. If you're 20 something and listening, I love you because I've been there, but it's like kind of fun making fun of you. And you can make fun of us because you're old, but
Yeah.
okay, go
Well, yeah,
continue.
I'm sure and same thing, I'm sure a woman at 55 is gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, I remember they thought that," like, I think
Mhm.
it's just that's why I'm saying it's not good or bad to have these thoughts and problems because there's seasons to your life where you just have to learn things, but, oh my god, like 500 things that were so funny at the bar. One, okay, it was a group of cops, so 6 cops, 25 and under.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Out for drinks. And literally the first thing like I do, I'm like sitting and these two cops are like, "Oh yeah, Brad, look at this, look at this." And they're like showing images of themselves deadlifting,
Okay.
right? And he's like, "Yeah, bro, I could do like 275." And he's like, "Nah, dude, nah." And he's like, "Oh, no, 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 no." And like they were just like talking about how much they could weigh. And then the third cop goes, "Yeah? Well, I'm like hella good at board games. Like I could just this
That
was
was
so
me.
cool. It wasn't a joke at all. And he was like, yeah, he's like, I mean, I don't know. And they like went into just so many weird competitions and they're dressed so like tightly and like interestingly with the like side fanny thing and just like, whoa, like what's going on around here? And of course, I'm like, okay, like tell me like how'd you get into being a cop? Like, what are you interested in? He's like, yeah, like my perfect day, man, is like I wake up, like, masturbate, and then I go to the gym, eat my burrito, and I'll play some video games, and then it's like, I serve and protect. Like, this is crazy people out there, and I'm like, ah,
Why am I
okay.
not surprised by any of that?
P.S. I'm a nurse, so I have random nights off. This was a Wednesday night, so these folks, you know, they're
Mhm.
just 8:30 to 2 in the morning. They're just drinking and doing things just to like potentially get some girl or whatever. I'm not even sure what they're doing exactly, but they played like the little game where you put the card or the cell phone on your head with a
Oh,
picture.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Heads Up, that
Yeah.
one.
They were like playing that a lot. And it was just very like, this is a very odd way to spend your time, to spend 8 hours of your time. Like, just drinking and like talking about Rick and Morty.
I
And
remember wasting a lot of time on that too. I can't
yeah,
believe how much I went out,
yeah.
like, you it's
Well,
so crazy too, because like, you were just at my house, and I remember you were like, "Oh, yeah," like, because I didn't have the girls that night, and you were like, "Yeah, like, we could go out," or like, "You and John Luca could go out," and we both just looked at each other, we're like, "No, dude, there's no way. There's no way." It just sounds so exhausting now,
hmm
and I feel like a fish out of water. I'm like, "I don't know how to do this anymore."
yeah. Well, it's
And
very
yet
performative. It's very performative.
yes,
Everyone's there to like perform, but they don't know who they're performing for and exactly what is right. And so they end up just doing very odd things that are so tropish that I'm like, really? Like, really? Okay, this is what we're doing. So it's cute. And I remember just thinking, like, it was really sweet. And I was like in their world. So I was like asking them questions. But I remember just thinking, like, oh my God, like, there's not one thing here that I would like connect with or want to talk about. Or I'm like, oh, teach me something. I'm just sort of like, oh man, I remember that season of life. I did all that too. And like, it's just interesting because I think this image that I'm so like sought after is for me to succeed in that world, and that world is like
right, and you
not a
just
goal.
yeah, yes, yes, that's such a good way to think of it. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. I'm thinking back to, like, one of the, um, steps in my body image journey, was, like, so I took all of my it's funny how, like, your closet is such a good representation of, like, where you kind of like, where your identity is at the time, and, like, we because, like, where you even, like, what's in the closet, like, it can be, like, super professional outfitty, or it can be, like, super
Mhm.
casual outfitty, and then that stuff sprinkles out, and then you need to get more stuff, and, of course, at one point in time, there was a lot of, like, going out dresses and everything, but Anshul, who is this amazing girl, she's one of my employees, and she does a lot of writing for Raising Mama, and she wrote this beautiful, um, essay about how she was standing in her closet, and it was like a moment of realization that she needed to just stop hating her body and stressing about what she wore, and it was like sort of a window into her transition to motherhood, and I think I can, like, say the same for me, like, my closet like, this is how it progressed for me. I You get pregnant, you start getting too big for all of the clothing that you used to be able to wear. So all of a sudden the pants don't fit. Then the maternity clothing comes in, but you still keep the stuff that you used to fit in. After you have the baby, you want to go into the new clothes right away, but then you realize, like, the maternity clothes are, like, still the most comfortable. So you keep those. And then you're like, huh, when can I go back to old clothes? Oh, I'm going to go back to old clothes. And then you're like, no, 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 there's way too many steps between maternity clothes and old clothes. So finally you make the decision to buy some new sizes. And you kind of have to be like, I'm going to maybe temporarily, maybe permanently say goodbye to your old shit. And this is like shirts, jeans, leggings, workout clothes, bras, like, you name it. I think there's maybe only like one pair of jeans, like pre-pregnancy, that I still fit in. But it's like there is a mental evolution. And then eventually it's like the day that you decide to take that stuff and put it in a bag and uh, throw it in the trunk of your car and drive around with it for 4 weeks and eventually drop it off at Goodwill.
Yeah.
you know that it's a day of like acceptance, but it takes you a while to get there. And then when you start bringing the new stuff in is when you kind of have an opportunity to rebuild your identity a little bit. How do I want to present myself? Who am I competing with? Whose fashion do I like? What do I have time for? Like, do I have time for super cute outfits? Or do I just want like cute outfits that are like really easy and quick to put together and it's basically like you're wearing the same thing every day but in a different color? I don't know. I definitely like learned to detach a little bit. I had an attachment to clothing pieces before I had kids, and now I'm a little bit more detached. Like I'm just like these are for right now. I don't know if I'll fit in them later. Like I don't know if whatever. These are for right now, and I make sure I always have 3 different sizes in jeans. That's a big one because if you just buy clothing that fits, you feel a hell of a lot better. And that was a big thing for me after Kelly.
Mhm.
Big thing. Buying a pair of jeans that fit, I instantly felt better. And then the other thing is the day that I packed away the club dresses, I remember it so clearly. I was like, I have no use for this.
Yep.
Why am I keeping this? Why am I keeping this?
Yep.
I have to come to terms with the fact that I will probably never go to a club ever again unless it's for like a bachelorette party or like a one-off night, like
Mhm.
once a year, if that. And so I put them all in a box. I put them in a box, Chelsea. Like I couldn't even like, I couldn't even throw them away. I put them in a box and I put them at the top of my closet. And then finally, like I think it was a year after having my first kid, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like throw this shit away.
It's
It's
good.
not coming back, Megan. It's not coming back. You're done.
Well, and here's okay, all that being said, which I love that. That's like the freaking transition of motherhood from a closet's perspective. Um is that so what's so funny is you can go out like me last night, hang out with 25-year-olds, go through that entire transition you just spoke of, and they still just see the same you. Like you think that this is going to change things so drastically and it's like unless I sat down and was like I'm a mom now and da da da, it's just so funny the things you think are going to have such an impact on how other people see you and whatever. Like the 25-year-old still like I still don't know what's going on, you seem nice, hey, like they're not thinking about like the journey of motherhood and your body image. And I think it just goes to show that, like, we're our own worst critics. And it's like, oh, finally just doing things for yourself is like what I mean, it's so cheesy. Everyone says that shit, like, do you and you'll just feel great and shine and attract the right person. But if you do that, if you told me that in my 20s, I'd just be like, no, I'm going to follow all the dating books and do what they say. And like, I'm glad I'm on the other side.
I am too. Yeah, I am too. And like I've talked about this in previous episodes, but I think my body image is way better now than it used to be. And it's not because of any kind of like crazy self work that I've done. It's just because I don't compare myself to that category of human anymore. I am
Mhm.
no longer competing with girls in their 20s and
Or period.
or well, yeah. Yeah. It's so much easier. You have to get there. You have to basically have no choice. At least for me. I
Yeah.
I had to wait till it was like, no, you have no choice now.
I think that the majority of people do end up liking themselves a lot more after motherhood. I think that the main takeaways are that it will change. Like you're not going to just be your body right after the hospital and like don't freak out because I freaked out. And And it's super annoying too, because I think too, if you're like me and you're like, oh, if I follow the ingredients in the baby book, I will gain the appropriate 25 to 35 pounds. You can do all the stuff correctly and still just not gain enough weight or gain too much weight or only gain it in your like left eyebrow. Like, um, I think
Yeah.
that's a freeing thing to know too, that like so much of this is not your fault or like 100% on your shoulders. Like it's just what naturally happens. Like there's nothing more natural than having a baby.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if there's like a reason for it. It's so closely tied to like the other adjustments that it almost like helps you get into that headspace faster, that like I'm a mom headspace. Because it's like, ha, we're not just gonna give you a baby, we're gonna make you look different.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then they're like, and then you're just gonna be forced to like think of yourself different, but it's gonna help you, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that's all I really got for today, unless you have any words of nuggets to give to anyone.
Nope. I'm excited to have Katie Wilder Thomas on the podcast with us. And, she's going to be on our next episode. She's got a master's in science. She's a certified strength and conditioning specialist, hardstyle, kettlebell certification, and she's a precision nutrition level 1 coach. And she has her she's a personal trainer on the Future Fitness app, and then she's also got her own program called the Food Freedom Project. So we're really excited to have her on. Make sure you listen to the episode, and we will dive into this a lot more with an actual expert instead of
Yeah.
just us,
Yeah.
gabbing.
Yeah. I've done it. I've done the Food Freedom Project. It's how I lost like 60 pounds and made it much easier for me. So if this is something you're struggling with, I would definitely pay attention to the episode because Katie's amazing.
Thank you for tuning in to the Raising Mama podcast. Your presence means a lot, and we hope you found our discussion insightful.
To become a part of our community, follow us on Instagram at Raising Mama Podcast. Explore resources on the Raising Mama Village located at www.raisingmama.com.
You're never alone on this motherhood journey. We're here to support you every step of the way.